ahead, Tom.
Yeah, all right, I'll take it. You saw my car, huh?
I didn't hear.
You ready, Tom? Do you have that Facebook so we can get our 8 visitors?
What's that?
No, that whatever it is, that online. Is that activated?
Yep, we're on now.
Okay.
YouTube.
Yeah. All right, good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Common Council for Wednesday, April 5th. If you'd all please press your I and confirm buttons.
Twelve are present, Your Honor.
Okay. We are all here, obviously a quorum. If you please now rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. We have some special guests with us tonight, and that's the Troop 1192. And these young men are from the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. So gentlemen, if you could please present the colors.
Scout salute. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, tonight we honor the loss of a great community leader. You called Mike Obinger home this past week, and we mourn his loss. We're grateful for Mike's time here, his leadership, his wit, and support for all people. Mike used your gifts of understanding and compassion to become a statesman in our community and a leader to so many. As Green Bay neighbors, we appreciate the example you sent through Mike as a caring community advocate, political leader, journalist, coach, and husband. Let us learn from Mike and from you that life is short, and a faith in you and a faith in each other will bring us peace and joy that we all seek. We ask that you be with the Obinger family and all those who mourn his death. As always, we ask you to watch over our military personnel, especially those serving on the USS Green Bay. We ask this in your name. Amen. All right, you guys, thank you. All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the minutes of the March 21st meeting. There's a motion by Alderman Nicholson, seconded by Alderman Randy Scannell, to approve the minutes of the March 21st meeting. Anything you want to change here? Seeing no lights, all in favor of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it, and the minutes have been approved. Now looking for a motion for approval of the agenda. There's a motion by Alderman Tom Slotnick, second by Alderman Randy Scannell. Anything you want to change here? Yep, oh, hang on. Alderman Scannell, go ahead.
Could we move INS to after Parks?
Okay, so we got a motion by Alderman Scannell to move item 7 up to really item 3. So we have a motion by Alderman Scannell, and now seconded by Alderman Duane, to change that, move that meeting. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. Anything else? So I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
Motion to adopt the agenda?
Okay, there's a motion by Alderman Randy Scannell and seconded by Alderman Joe Moore to adopt the agenda as amended. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. The agenda as amended has been adopted.
Report by the mayor.
All right, I have just 3 things, really 2 dates. So one is, as I mentioned last time, and you've all been invited to the State of the City, which is a week from today at 5 p.m. at the Meyer Theater. I hope you can attend that. And then April 18th, the city helped sponsor Youth Government Day, and that's from 9 till noon. If you want to stop in, you're more than welcome to do that. It's the Youth Government Day. And then lastly, thirdly, I just want you to keep Sherry Bozart in your heart and in your prayers. She has been the longest serving person in Green Bay, 52 years, and she's taken ill. And she doesn't have visitors. The chief goes to visit on occasion, and we're concerned. I'll tell you that. But she can get through this. We have a card at the police department if you want to stop by and sign that. But I just ask you to keep her in your mind. I mean, 52 years, that's a long time to serve the city, and we wish her well. All right, go ahead.
We're on to announcements.
We'll begin with Alderman Tom Dwayne.
Yeah, thank you, Honor. I'm glad you spoke of both. I want to send my condolences to the Mike Albinger family. I got to tell you, I've met with him many, many times since he's been in as president at Wabanon. And whether it was in his office or at a function or anything, the guy was just, open. He was willing to listen. He was willing to talk. I mean, he was funny. And it is a great loss. And I was saddened to hear when Chief Smith told us about Sherry. I tell you, I mean, I may, as often as you call that office, and he'll tell you, and the rest of the chiefs in the past would tell you, I call quite often. And she was always she's one of the best, and I think been longer here than Guy Zima, if you can believe that. Well, that's saying something. But my respects to their family and chief and the entire police department. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Announcements, Alderman Mark Stoyer.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd also like to mirror those comments as well. I had a chance to work with Mike Albinger on a couple of issues like zero waste and historic preservation. He was very much into history, and I appreciate all the time he gave to me as well. I'd also like to mention a citizen that was in Alder Chris Worry's district. I was shopping with some of my clients from Aspiro today over at Festival Foods on the west side, and this woman was buying all these groceries, and it looked like, I said, are you gonna have a party or what? And she said, no, I'm donating this to the Salvation Army. And she mentioned that years ago, she had issues where she needed help, and she went out of her way to buy quite a few groceries to donate to them. She says, because I can do it now. And her name's Bev Robinson, and I just want to commend her for that, and I hope other folks take to that as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alderman. Any other announcements? Okay, clerk.
We're on to public hearings, zoning ordinance number 3-17, and ordinance amending zoning ordinance 7-16, a planned unit development overlay district for 2460 University Avenue, and planning ordinance number 3-17, and ordinance amending the official map of the city to approve a plat of right-of-way for Mather Street.
All right, is there anyone here who would like to speak to either of these two items, zoning ordinance 317, planning ordinance 317? Anyone wishing to speak to these? Is there anyone wishing to be heard? All right, well then we'll let the record show that no one came forward.
You may, under suspension of the rules, take up items 18 and 19 with a roll call vote.
Suspend. Second.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Randy Scannell, second by Alderman Dave Nenning to suspend the rules for that purpose. All in favor of suspension, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. The rules are now suspended. Be a motion to adopt. Motion to adopt by Alderman
Second.
Randy Scannell, second by Alderman Mark Stoyer. And if you could please use the board here. This is items 18 and 19 on the agenda.
Your Honor, 2460 University, can I ask what that is? I mean, I got an idea. But
That's that empty lot behind Festival that we talked about with,
1 year versus 2 year.
right.
Thank you. There's one.
Okay, and those pass unanimously. Thank you.
Appointments by the mayor.
Sure. Alderman Zima?
I thought I had my button pushed under announcements, but I evidently didn't have it. I just wanted to add my condolences to the family of Mr. Obinger, and I think what needs to be said about him is he was a businessman that ran a newspaper successfully. He was a community leader, and something that isn't mentioned, he was a great intellectual. The man was very, very smart, always interesting to talk to. And above all, what I think he should be remembered for is that he was a very honest man. And I just want to send out my condolences to his family.
All right, thank you. All right, clerk?
Appointments by the mayor, new appointments, zoning and planning board of appeals, Tommy Everman and Noel Halverson.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Dave Nenning, second by Alderman Bill Galvin, to approve the two appointments to the Zoning and Planning Board of Appeals. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it, and they've both been approved. Thank you.
We're on to referrals of petitions and communications. On page 1 of your packet, you have all petitions and communications received by the clerk's office by noon on Thursday. We will now accept any late communications you may have.
We'll begin with Alderman Andy Nicholson.
Thank you, Mayor. One late communication for Planning Commission to review the ordinance that allows oversized vehicles, trailers, etc., parking with possible action. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman Guy Zima.
Thank you, Your Honor. It was requested by Verheyen Construction that I enter in their application for a sidewalk builder's license along with their check. They didn't get it in a timely manner.
All right, thank you. Alderman Joe Moore.
Thanks, Your Honor. This is for the legal department and for the RDA to draft resolution supporting home and community development block grant funds and encourage our congressional and U.S. Senate representation to continue supporting the flow of these funds into the city of Green Bay. And I would just mention that Mr. Strubis kind of beat me to the punch with an article on this, so make sure you read your Press Gazette. Thank you.
Thank you. Andy, do you have anything else? Alderman Nicholson, do you have anything else? Alderman Zima, do you have anything else? All right. Okay, Chris, do you have any late communications?
No, I do not.
All right. Alderman Vanderleest.
Communication, maybe my button's not working.
Oh, it is. Go ahead, Alderman
I
Vanderleest.
didn't mean to, jump in.
Yeah.
This would go to the Finance Committee, request to the City Budget Task Force to address a City Budget Task Force to address the property tax issues. It would take input from department heads, city employees, city council members, taxpayers, and city business owners. The Budget Task Force members would be appointed jointly by the mayor, council president, and council vice president, just to address some of the tax.
Sure.
Like when we have our budget coming up in the fall, we don't do too much communication about these things. I know there's a lot of other issues that are come forward and what have you, but I think that it would be good if we had, some discussion on ways that we can save tax dollars and,
Right.
give our taxpayers a fair shot.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to refer all petitions and communications. There's a motion by Alderman Randy Scannell, second by Alderman Joe Moore. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it, and those communications and late communications have been referred to the proper authority. Alderman Vanderleest, I just want to, and I think you know this, but you don't have to wait till people are done. You can queue up your request to speak button at any time.
Okay, thank you.
All right, clerk.
Reports for council action, report of the park committee.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Randy Scannell, and that's seconded by Alderman Dave Nenning to approve the report of the Park Committee. That was for the meeting held on Wednesday, March 29th. Are there any items in this report you wish to handle separately? Seeing no lights, all in favor of that report, please signify by saying aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it, and that report's been approved.
Report of the improvement and service committee.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Randy Scannell, second by Alderman Joe Moore, to approve the report of the Improvement and Service Committee. That was for the meeting held on March 29th. Any items in this report you wish to handle separately? Okay, hearing none others, all in favor of the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. All items on that report have been approved with the exception of item 5. And what are your wishes regarding item 5? There's a motion to approve by Alderman Tom Slottick, second by Alderperson Barb Dorf. Alderman Randy Scannell.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think before I go into it, I know there are some people here who wanted to speak on this item. I'd like to I'll make a motion to open the floor.
All right, so there's a motion by Alderman Scannell, second by Alderman Nicholson to open the floor to hear from interested parties. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed nays, the ayes have it. The floor is now open. The council is now discussing the report of the Improvement Service Committee, specifically item 5. Item 5 is to deny the request by the Department of Public Works to award a professional services contract to SRF Consulting Group in the amount of $43,946 to complete a study of truck traffic on Broadway from Mather to 9th. So is there anyone here tonight who would like to comment or speak to this specific item? If you'd please step to the podium and state your name and address for the clerk.
Mr. Mayor, Brian Johnson, 830 South Irwin Avenue, here representing On Broadway Incorporated. We're here to talk about this particular study. This is something that we had brought forth. On Broadway had inquired about it because we're very concerned about the truck route that currently exists on Broadway. There's 3 primary reasons that we'd like to have the council address this. The first is talking about the aesthetic of the district. When we take a look at what we're trying to do with the district, certainly one of the things that when you look around at other successful downtown areas, one of the things that they don't have is heavy truck congestion. And that's something that currently exists in our district. And when you think about, from an entertainment perspective, a place that people want to recreate, that's typically not something that intersects with that very well. The second thing is the disruption to our current business community. We have a number of businesses within our district where the vibrations, the noise pollution, the exhaust, all created from the trucks that come through, do create a disruption to their business. And of course, we're concerned about, when you think about business recruitment and retention, that's an area that we're concerned about. We spent a lot of time over the past 20 years trying to build up a successful district, and we'd like to do the best that we can to maintain that. The third thing is pedestrian safety. No doubt that when you just spend 15 minutes down in the district and see the volume of trucks that come through, and quite honestly, the lack of adherence to speed limits, posted speed limits, there is a huge concern of pedestrian safety. And when we take a look at what is happening with the rail yard development and with the shipyard development, without being presumptuous about what decisions the council may make on that in the coming months, we're trying to be a little forward-thinking with this issue and the possibility or the potential for increased pedestrian traffic in the district and what kind of dangers that may present if we can't bring this issue under control. So one of the things that we talk about are the needs of the district. The needs of the district 20 years ago are certainly different than they are today. Back then, there were a lot of issues that plagued the district, whether it's drugs or crime or things of that nature, and this council at the time was very proactive about addressing that concern. You fast forward 20 years later, and we have a very new need in the district that's no less significant. And so we're asking this council today to make a decision on this study. We want to thank the council. I mean, again, 20 years ago, you took some very proactive steps. Alderman Zim, I believe you're a part of that initial group, and we thank you for that. But you're uniquely positioned today to be proactive about this issue. And so when we were at the INS committee and we talked about this issue, I know one of the alders on the committee, I forget who, but had asked Director Grenier, and certainly Director Grenier, I'd invite you if I'm misrepresenting anything here, but the question was posed, what other options do we have besides this study? And the answer at that time was really none. I mean, this is the first step that's required to determine what to do. Director Grenier was also very clear that we may not come back, the study may not come back with the response that says we need to move the truck route. It may say that we need to stay there. It may say we need to move it. But we can't make educated, qualified decisions without information. And so we're asking the council today to take a decision, or to make a decision to support the study being the first step that's really required for us to move forward on this issue. At the end of the day, we have a problem in the district. We have a problem in the district. And to vote no on saying that we don't want the information is really saying we're just going to let this problem continue to persist. Alderman Nenning had brought it up during the committee meeting that this is an issue that's continued to rear its head for several years now. And so we are here today with one final ask to say we'd like you to take the first step, which is a study. We're not talking about millions of dollars to move routes. We're not talking about anything else other than saying please support this study to help us make some good decisions. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Brian. Any questions? All right, does anyone else like to speak to this? This is, Brian talked about the truck traffic study on Broadway from Mather down to 9th. Anybody else want to comment on this? Anybody? All right, then all right, there's a motion by Alderman Tom Dwayne, second by Alderman Randy Scannell to return to regular order. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it. We're now back in regular session. And Alderman Scannell, you still have the floor.
Yep, thank you, Your Honor. Yeah. I think what we really need to ask is, what's our vision for our city? What's our vision for on Broadway? We've been very progressive and proactive in that area in the past, and there is a problem that we need to address. Hopefully, like it has been mentioned, this is the first step. It's a necessary step. Unfortunately, it comes at a bit of a price tag, but I think that area, for it to grow, the potential there for growth and increased tax levy is considerable. But this problem will hinder that growth. So this is the first step to address that. And to really make that district go, I think we need to do this. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the request.
So there's a motion by Alderman Scannell, second by Alderperson Dorf, to amend this to read, to approve the request. I got like 4 lights on, so do you have anything else?
That's all for now, thank you.
Okay. Alderman Galvin. Hang on, Bill. Okay, go ahead. Alderman Galvin.
Thank you, Your Honor. I started my work down on Broadway Street, and I've seen the changes, dramatic. An industrial area, heavy with bars, not a place you'd want to take your family at even in the middle of the day. It's changed dramatically, like I said. But I look at the streets, we put in decorative stone paving. It's all broken up. I would imagine a lot of that is due to the heavy truck traffic. We look at the potential, that was previously mentioned about the possible development of the shipyard, the rail yard, and shame on us if we pass by this opportunity and then have to address it years later down the road when it becomes even more of a problem. I think the prudent thing for us to do would be to go through with the study and get the answers that we need at this time and start looking down the road for future development. We've been pushing hard for North Broadway, and it's around the corner and it's getting done. The focus is now starting to turn on to South Broadway, which for years has lagged way behind the rest of the city. And I think it's only the smart thing to do to start thinking 5, 10, 15 years down the road, where do we want to be with these places, and to get the study done beforehand so we can make the right decisions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman Joe Moore.
Thanks, Your Honor. I'm curious what a study would entail, because everyone's been agreeable that there are problems with the truck traffic. What exactly are we studying? We already know that, yes, there are problems. Are we talking about rerouting it? Because anybody can look at a Google Earth map and say, if you go down Ashland, you're going to run through a bunch of residential property. If you run down Military, you could run it to Lombardi and then come up. If you got to reroute them that way, maybe you just need to use our highways and run, 43, 41, 172 and route the traffic around that way. I wonder why we need to spend $44,000 to do this and why we can't just do this in-house. It just seems like we already know what the problems are. Alderman Galvin just said we need to get some answers, but what are the questions? So I guess, I don't know if Director Grenier is able to address what exactly we'd be looking for in a study, but to do a study just for the sake of doing it, to say we did a study and there's a problem with truck traffic, something we've known for 20 years already, it just doesn't really seem, I'll use the word prudent. Thanks.
I'm going to go to Director Grenier.
The intent of the study, it's referred to as an origin destination study. So as the name implies, what it does is studies the origin of the traffic and what their ultimate destination is to determine whether or not an alternate route would be feasible. Some of the items that you've alluded to in your discussion are exactly the type of issues that we would be looking at. Is there a suitable alternate route that could accomplish getting those vehicles to their destination from the origin they started at? One of the things that you talked about is exactly the challenge we find on the west side. There's not a lot of continuous north-south routes to accommodate those types of truck traffic, and the 3 routes that you identified are probably the 3 primary routes that would be studied under this scenario.
I just wonder if we can do that in-house.
We do not have the expertise to do OD studies. It's a pretty specialized type of analysis. Matter of fact, there's only a couple of firms in the state who are qualified to do them.
All right, thank you, Alderman. Alderperson Dorff?
Thank you, Your Honor. So I worked on Broadway for 12 years before I retired 2 years ago. So personally, I'm aware of the amount of truck traffic, and no one's arguing that there is plenty of truck traffic. I've attended the improvement services meetings, and the origin destination study seems to me to be a very prudent thing to do, because I did hear Director Grenier, and I do understand that we don't have the staff, we don't have the capacity to do a study like this, and to make decisions without research and data, I don't think that is a prudent thing to do either. So I would be very much in favor of having this study done and seeing what alternatives we might come up with. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman Stoyer?
Thanks, Your Honor. I agree with some of the comments that were made. I guess Joe Moore brought up a good point, though. I guess I look at what Alder Galvin said as well, is that, you know, I moved up here in 1981, and Broadway was a problem. It has really improved a lot. But I've thought of this, too, when I worked in the planning office, is that, okay, you've got Broadway, where would you move the traffic? So you got Ashland, then you got Oneida. If you go west of Broadway, basically, a lot of my district, it's all residential. So they're really, that is a problem, you know, so you might have to go out to the highways. And listening to what, you know, I was kind of leaning against it, but after listening to what Mr. Grenier said, you know, the fact of the matter is there aren't that many firms that can do it. So I would rely on that, and for that reason, I would support having that study.
All right, thank you. Alderman Tom Slotnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When this first appeared on the INS agenda, I was stunned at the amount, and I still don't agree with the amount. I don't think we should spend $44,000 for the first step in looking into this. I suggest those advocates for this find a way to start it off with something a lot less than that. I won't support $44,000. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman Chris Weary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For a traffic study, it is a crazy dollar amount, almost $44,000. And when we discussed this about a month ago at Improvement Services, Director Grenier mentioned only one company responded, I believe. And so I'm wondering, Director Grenier, is this an unusually high amount for this type of study? Could we put the requests out again? Do you think we'd get some more responses?
I do not think we would get any additional responses if we were to requote.
I'm sorry.
Dollar value of the proposal, taking a look at the number of hours, I think on an hourly rate, this is a competitive proposal, and the number of hours that they're proposing, again, we don't have the expertise. We don't see anything that jumps out at us as being astronomically high. This seems to be in line with good engineering practice.
Thank you. I also am worried about, you know, shifting of the traffic. We might see that there's a problem, but I don't really want to move it on to Ashland and disrupt the houses there. And Oneida is not a truck route. I don't know how many times I have to call in trucks going down to Oneida. It's in my district. It's not a truck route, so don't go down Oneida. So I'm going to concur with Alderman Slotnick that I think we should take a smaller step, maybe try and look at something in-house with our traffic engineer, and then look at this later, but a little bit too much for me right now. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Alderman Vanderleest.
Thank you, Mayor Schmidt. If you look at a lot of the truck traffic on Broadway, a lot of the truck traffic that's moving in and out is going to the businesses that are there already. And I don't think it's, you know, Broadway's not a destination for trucks, but it's a destination to the businesses that are there. And I feel that, you know, there's going to be some traffic there. The north corridor, I think, it's tied into US 41, and when we had the bridge out, that's where all the traffic had to go from, you know, routed around. And that's a state, I think the state is involved. Mr. Grenier can verify that. But I think that, you know, the traffic that's there, just like the railroad that's down there, you know, there's a lot of noise with the railroad. That's all part of the district. In other words, you hear the trains and they pound and, you know, and they back and forth. And as far as the truck traffic, you know, speeding, that's a police issue. People should be watching their speed limit, and the truckers especially. And as far as, you know, that's more of a police issue. But the number of trucks that are back and forth, it would be interesting just to have a count of how many trucks pass through each day. Just like all they do is put down a counter. But you'd have to, you know, you'd have somebody, actually, the truck traffic would have to be what would be how many trucks go by there each day. And most of them that are going by, if you look at, you know, the local vendors, and, you know, you got UPS trucks and American Express, you know, the Express, there's different people are using those routes, and Broadway is a hub. You got the Ford, in other words, the paper mill on the south end, and you got your concrete trucks and different things that head down. So I would not support the study at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next? Can you turn off your light, Alderman Weary and Alderman Vanderleest, and I can get Alderman Dave Nenning.
Your Honor, at the Improvement Services Committee, I was a little bit skeptical of this at first for exactly the reasons that are expressed here. It does seem like an awful lot of money, and you know, I'm not real optimistic that we're going to be able to accomplish everything that the requesters you know, would like. There will always be some truck traffic on Broadway. This particular study is done by a consulting firm, an engineering consulting firm that has a lot of expertise in this sort of thing. They would examine the current truck traffic on Broadway, where it's coming from and where it's going to, and they would look at alternate routes. And, you know, although you may not get to the point where you can eliminate all truck traffic, I don't think you'll ever get to that point, you may be able to reduce it to a point that makes a street more manageable and more attractive for the business community. I did talk with our traffic engineer about this at some length, and the study that's proposed here is clearly beyond the scope of what our staff can do. I asked him specifically if this was denied, you know, what can you do? And he said, we really can't do anything. If the city is serious about looking at the traffic on Broadway, we will need this type of study either now or sometime in the future. So I don't think the study will be any cheaper if it's done sometime in the future. I think you know, it will shed a lot of light on the traffic on Broadway, and you know, I hope that it'll give us some basis for making sound decisions in the future, both for Broadway and the whole near west side. So I supported it at committee, the study, and I will support it here again. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Alderman. Alderman Guy Zima.
Thank you, Your Honor. You know, where trucks come from and go to is not really very mysterious. I think the more developed business district there on Broadway, where we did most of the improvements, are the ones, of course, that don't like it. Don't like the truck traffic. Nobody likes truck traffic. And I think we can find some way to avoid that area if we want to. I mean, you just got to put them on a different street, long and the short of it. And I think that's a decision that the Improvement Services Committee can discuss. And I just, it's beyond me, confounds me that we would spend $44,000 to give us more information about what we pretty much already know. We know that there's certain businesses that have traffic coming into them, and they send traffic out of them. If you want them to go somewhere other than Broadway, you got to choose another street. If you want to just exempt them from a certain area, you've got to go around it. Right now, when the farmers market's on Broadway, well, they have to go around it. I guess they're going on Ashland. I've had some complaints about it. But it all comes down to where are you gonna put them? And that's a really kind of a policy decision that we have to make. Paying somebody a lot of money to figure out where are these trucks really coming from? Well, they're coming from all over the place. To pick up loads at the paper mill or to take them out of there. And of course, there are other more minor things. We have I know the city had an opportunity a long time ago to acquire the Northwest Engineering Building, and it was never brought forward, unfortunately. But it's more of a manufacturing type area there now. So things have to come and go from there. It's not mysterious. And what will we spend all this money for? You just got to have the belly for making a decision, because wherever the trucks go, you're going to have complaints. But if we want to take them off of a certain area, we got to just think about it and talk about it. We're going to spend a lot of money for somebody to go over to the paper mill or the other places that have truck traffic coming and going and plot out where they're coming from. Well, whether it's from Nebraska or Seymour, doesn't make much difference. They're coming for a purpose. I mean, this is a overkill like I've never seen. It would just be lining the pockets of people that would give us very little information. I don't think it could give us much information more than what we already know. It's just a matter of if the council's going to make a decision about it one way or the other. I'm certainly willing to listen to proposals about it. The bid district down there, I mean, I don't know, they didn't talk about cost sharing or something like that. I guess they come to us. Where was the money going to come from? Just out of our existing budget? Is there room in our existing budget for 44,000 or?
Who chairs it? Who chairs that? What's that? Where was that coming from, the DPW?
That would come out of our bonded funds for 2017.
Well, we're going to borrow money to do this now. Wow, gee. Yeah, I really want to do that. But again, we set up bid districts so that when they had special things they wanted to do to help promote their area, they were supposed to use that money for that. They pay an overtax for it. I know some of the things they've done, like the big planting areas that nothing's planted in, haven't worked out so well. But I think if they're willing to spend 44,000, I think when it comes out of your own pocket, you think twice about if that's what you want to do with your money. But I really question what additional knowledge this study could do for us that would help us make a decision. I really think nothing. We can figure out what we want to do here just by thinking about it and maybe having a couple public hearings about it. If we have some ideas, because you'll want to hear from the people who are impacted by it. So, these businesses that have the trucks coming and going, they're part of the lifeblood of our community too. A lot of people work there. They pay a lot of taxes. If we want them to go somewhere else, if we want them to go down Lombardi Avenue and over to Military or vice versa or something, well, let's just do that. Make those decisions. And then hear from those people. Of course, I wonder if the Military Avenue people would want that. I don't think the people on Ashland or Oneida want it. So, I mean, what choices do you have? And one part of Broadway.
Alderman Zerwinski, you're over 5 minutes, and I did give you 30 seconds for the Grenier thing. It's the council rule, so.
Yeah, you're a fantastic person. Thank you very much.
Alderman Nicholson?
Thanks, Mayor. Question for Director Grenier. Steve, I thought this was coming out of capital improvements.
It is, the capital improvement program is our bonded money.
Right, for next year?
No, this year's.
It would be this year's.
Correct.
Okay. Steve, okay, I just want to clarify that. Steve, you did make a comment at the improvement services, even though if we have this study, and correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, and this study comes back supporting a move or movement of this truck route, we're still going to have trucks coming in and out, correct?
That is correct. I characterize it as substantial truck traffic, as has been alluded to by several alders already. The businesses that exist along Broadway are serviced by trucks, heavy trucks. So If you have a restaurant over there, the food service truck that brings your food deliveries, those are oftentimes 53-foot trailers on a semi. Those trucks still need to be able to get in. The beverage trucks are still gonna have to get in. If you're taking supplies to a commercial business, and it's a UPS truck or other type delivery vehicle, those trucks still need to be able to go to service the businesses that are on Broadway, and there also is, under Green Bay Municipal Code, the shortest distance to the destination from the established truck route is the route that needs to be followed by a heavy truck. So even if the official designation of Broadway moves, or the truck route off of Broadway moves, and the destination is on Broadway, and the shortest distance to that destination from the new established truck route involves using Broadway, those trucks are legally allowed to use Broadway. So, again, we were just trying to be very upfront with the committee as far as what to expect and what could come out of this study.
Well, okay, thank you, Steve. I guess with that information, Mayor, I don't see and I believe this is a word, the prudency of spending 40,000 plus for a study with that comment. Kind of reminds me, I remember when I first was elected many moons ago on the county board, when people were buying houses next to the airport and wanted the airport traffic, such as the planes and the jets, to be reduced. Just like with this example, the trucks have been there before. So now we want to move them, and we're going to be shifting the problem, but we're still going to have, I don't know what we're going to be shifting, we're still going to have trucks coming down. So I don't see this. I don't see spending the money. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Tom Dwayne.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, I'm not gonna vote for this proposal at this time. For one, we don't have it in our budget, and for me to tell my constituents that we're bonding for such a thing, I've talked at length with, I didn't get to talk with Steve on this one, because I did talk to Dave Hanson, our engineer director, and he flat out said, Tom, he says, we can look, we're looking at it, the aerial view, no matter what they try to do with that, you're gonna get overly complaints from all these other streets because the Broadway area doesn't wanna see it. He says, too, like Director Greener just said, every one of them trucks they see now by ordinances is gonna still use it because it's sort of distance what they go through. Liquor, Titletown is a big user of the big trucks. You got Cerrugi's, they got to get their materials, it's a pretty big truck. You talk FedEx and all that. You talk about the trains that come with that. That's enough noise in itself. And take a look at the area. Where are you going to put them? It's the only truck route, really. And these same trucks, whether you pass it or make them go a different route, are still going to be able to go through there. And then it's from our engineer director, because it's going to be shortest distance to the route. They don't just go down Broadway and then cut through all these other side streets for the heck of it. They're going to a certain destination. We already know where they're going. If next year we have a better year and it's still a problem, I might be able to do it. Right now, we just don't have in our budget and a bond for this type of thing. I'm not gonna vote for it. It just doesn't make sense at one time. Now, if the bid district wants to do a study on their own, I'm all for that, because then they can, they'll be able to get their answers. But I can't support this at this time.
All right, thank you. Alderman Zima.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think it might be useful to send it back to committee and talk about how they want to go about asking people where they think the truck route should go. You don't have many choices. And then maybe have some hearings about it. Trucks are not coming from outside using Broadway as a shortcut to go somewhere else. They're not cutting through the neighborhood as something short. These are people that are coming and going to businesses that are one end of Broadway or the other. And, myself, I think, why waste the money on this for Broadway? I'd rather spend it on something more productive. And I think we can address all the issues of the possibility of where things would go. And I think our traffic engineer can tell us, well, here's where you can go. You can go here, here, or here. And then you make a decision whether you want to do one of those things. I spent about a half hour with the traffic engineer, and I didn't see much enthusiasm from him to do this study. In so many words, he thought, well, we know what the choices are. It's a matter of if you want to use a different choice, a different route. So I'm going to make a motion to send this back and let the committee talk about what the alternatives are. I think our traffic engineer can tell us what other options there are, and then we just got to decide whether we really want to do one of those or not. And I think I would rather see this money. I'm not against spending money in the district. I asked for it a long time ago to get it started, 18, 20 years ago. Doesn't seem that long ago. But it was a good thing that happened, and I understand people don't like a truck coming through, especially you got a snowy day or bad weather or something. It slows traffic. But I just don't see the benefit of doing this. So I'd make a motion to refer this back to give it more consideration.
Second, and if I could,
Yep.
Alderman Zima, and ask Con Broadway to come, so they can look at the overview that I looked at and discuss for 45 minutes with him. He can show you, and then you can see and help make that decision.
Right.
Okay?
That's fine. So we have a motion by Alderman Zima, second by Alderman Dwayne, to refer this item back. So we're gonna talk about referral now, because that's the motion on the floor.
To discuss the options that are
Right.
available that our traffic engineer can tell us, because I don't think it's a real mystery, Your Honor, of the fact that there's trucks coming and going. They're coming and going for a purpose, and if we want to reroute them somewhere, the trucks will go where you tell them to go most of the time. Sometimes they don't. But
Okay.
that's my feeling, is that if we want to change it, we gotta tighten the buckle, take our buckle in of our pants and decide to do it.
All right, thank you. So on referral, we'll begin with Alderman Mark Stoyer.
Thank you, Your Honor. Some very good points by everybody here. I guess I wanted to ask Director Grenier on this study that they mentioned on Broadway from Mather to 9th Street. Is that specifically talking just about Broadway, or was there any thought or talk about alternative routes with this? Or is it just?
This is specific to Broadway.
All right, well, I've listened to some of all their comments on this, and I initially agreed to go with this, but I concur with Alderman Zima, that I think, I'm looking at the votes right here, and it seems like that if we voted right now, it would not pass. So my feeling is that in order to maybe see this come forward, that we need to look at it again, so I would go for a referral as well. Thank
All right,
you.
thank you. Alderman Randy Ciano?
Thank you, Your Honor. Director Grenier, it was my understanding that before the city could redirect routes, that we needed information for that, and that the only way to get that was this study. Was that not correct?
What I said was to answer the questions that had been posed, the study was the way to get the data.
So it would be possible to redirect traffic without this study?
I think there are ways to do it. You'd be doing it without all the data that's been requested on Broadway Incorporated.
Well, okay. I'd be curious to see, before we refer it back, I'd rather have a vote on, just to see if we could, where the council stands on this, and then possibly refer back. So I'm gonna oppose referral at this time, and I'm hoping we could just do a vote straight out and see where everybody stands, and then, if necessary, refer it back. I certainly think it may need some more looking at, but to me, to make a sound decision on these things, we need data, and this was gonna provide the data. That was the whole purpose. We may be able to make some decisions, rerouting things, but we're gonna be doing it a little bit blindly, and we may not be making the best decisions, whereas if we had the data. I appreciate, the cost on this is a little steep, but, this has been a problem for a long time, and I think we need to just finally start addressing it. So, I'm going to oppose referral for right now. Thank you.
Right. So that's the last light I have. This is on referral. This is a motion by Alderman Zima, second by Alderman Tom DeWayne to refer this item back. I'd like you to use the board, 'cause I'm not sure how. This is for referral. Right.
While we're doing that, I'd like to apologize to Bernstein's, I call them Shrewsbury's. And I love them, so I go there. If they're in a building, I love them. I apologize.
All right, so this item was referred back for a little further study to discuss some options and OBI to be at the meeting. All right, clerk.
Report of the Plan Commission.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Bill Galvin, seconded by Alderman Randy Scannell to approve the report of the Green Bay Plan Commission. That was for the meeting held on Monday, March 27th. Any items under this report you wish to handle separately? Number three. Okay, hearing none others, all in favor of the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. Hey, before you speak, can I want to make sure you understand that I know there's a lot of people here from the Broadway, that item was referred back. When are you guys meeting? When does INS meet again? Next Wednesday? 6:30. At 6:30, and they're going to discuss the Broadway traffic. Maybe I didn't make that clear. I think people, you're welcome to come to that meeting. They're going to discuss alternative routes and the traffic on Broadway. All right, sorry, thank you. Go ahead. This item.
No, I just want to.
Right. All right, so there was a motion and a second to approve the remainder of that report. Please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it. Items 1 and 2 have been approved. What are your wishes regarding item 3? So motion to approve by Alderman Randy Scannell, second by Alderman Mark Stoyer. Alderman Dwayne?
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. I just want to let everybody know that the reason this received and placed on file is not that we're not done looking at it, as Dr. Vonk had called me with some solutions, and hopefully he'll have them really quick and get them to the home builders and all that, and we'll get this going forward. And I just want to make sure that's correct, Dr. Vonk, right? Yes. Okay, thank you.
All right. So we have a motion and a second to approve item 3. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it. Item 3 has been approved.
Report of the Public Arts Commission.
Motion is a motion by Alderman Joe Moore, second by Alderman Bill Galvin to approve the report of the Green Bay Public Arts Commission. That was for their meeting held on Wednesday, March 22nd. Any items in this report you wish to handle separately? Hearing none, all in favor of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it. That report's been approved.
Report of the Traffic, Bicycle, and Pedestrian Commission.
All right, so we have a motion by Alderman Randy Scannell, second by Alderman Chris Weary to approve the report of the Traffic, Bicycle, and Pedestrian Commission meeting, which was held on Monday, March 20th. Are there any items in this report you wish to handle separately? Hearing none, all in favor of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. That item's been approved. That report's been approved.
Report of the Finance Committee.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Randy Scannell, second by Alderman Tom DeWayne, to approve the report of the Finance Committee for the meeting held on Tuesday, March 28th. Any items in this report you wish to handle separately? Hang on. 1 and 2 by Alderman Moore. Item 3 by Alderman Galvin. And item 5? I think Alderperson Dorf. All right, hearing none others, all in favor of the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it. Really, items 4 and 6 have been approved. So what are your wishes regarding item 1? Is the motion by Alderman Randy Scannell? I just got to get this on the table. Yeah, okay, right. Seconded by Alderman Tom DeWayne. Alderman Joe Moore.
Thanks, Your Honor. I've had a discussion with Dennis Bueller at the Greater Green Bay Community Foundation. He would like to take this on, discussing any kind of reimbursements or anything that may happen with the donors. I would just make the motion here that we approve the request by Bernie Dallin for the City of Green Bay to reimburse the Greater Green Bay Community Foundation Project Fund for the Colburn Park project.
All right. Anything else, Alderman Moore?
Not on
Alderman Weary? Alderman Weary?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm supportive of this. Obviously, it's a sad situation, to be in. There's a lot of wasted time, effort, and goodwill on this, of course. We all know that. I do want to thank Alderman Moore for stepping up and reaching out to the new director, Dennis Bueller. I had emailed him when we were scheduled to meet, but Alderman Moore beat me to it, so thank you. The Greater Green Bay Community Foundation realizes it's the right thing to do for the community. Before, they had a policy where if they took in funds for a project, they did not give it back to the donor. And they realize that this has been such a big issue the last few years. They're willing to take that money back, and they're going to work with myself and the Friends of Colburn Pool and reach out to the donors. And once we have our new plans, say, here's the new plans, what do you think? And engage the interest. Now, I know for a fact, I spoke with Mr. Buckdowland today, he's not going to continue with the project. He does want his money back. He doesn't want to be part of any other city projects because of this, unfortunately. So I'm hoping we still will have donors. There are some people who just want to do something great for that neighborhood, and I'm hoping that the remodel works, because that's going to have the most interest, the remodeling of the pool. So I'm in favor of this. Let's move forward, and hopefully we can work on some positive Colburn news here pretty soon. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Alderman Tom Slotnick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I understand this motion right, it's to approve the request by Bernie Dolan for the city of Green Bay to do this reimbursement. How much money is involved?
$275K that they have distributed to us for the engineering study.
Where's the money coming from?
$100 that are already bonded for the project.
Thank you. I'm not ready to support that.
All right, thank you. Any other lights here? We have a motion by Alderman Moore, second by Alderman Scannell to approve item 1. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nay. All right, I'll note you as a no. Thank you. All right, now what are your wishes regarding item 2? There's a motion by Alderman Riney Scannell, second by Alderman Tom DeWayne, to approve item 2. Alderman Moore, I think you pulled that one as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead.
I understand this is a small dollar amount, and I voted no on this at committee. We have a incumbent vendor that we've dealt with for more than 20 years, and they submitted a bid that beat the second place bid on our point system. I believe it was 2.5 points on more than 90 points that were tallied up. However, the second bid that lost by 2.5 points had a bid that was $4,000 cheaper per year over 5 years. And I see $20,000 in savings on this. I'd like to take advantage of that. I would not support this motion as it's presented here, and I would like to make a motion that we award the 5-year contract for copier leasing and maintenance, and I don't even know the business name, but to the low bidder. Thank you.
All right, so there's a motion by Alderman Joe Moore and seconded by Alderman Weary to amend item 2 to the, yeah. Rick, can you maybe speak? Do you mind if Rick, I just need, yeah, I need a little bit of info. Why don't you, I don't know, you grab that chair wherever you're more comfortable.
I hope that the alderman realized that an RFP is not intended to be awarded to the low bidder. We consider many factors. We tell the vendors up front what those factors are, and we evaluate their response against that criteria. Price was 35% of our scoring factor, and the number 2 bidder was the lowest price, but scope of work was also worth 35%. We asked all of the bidders, and we had 8 responses, by the way, but we had very good response. We asked all the bidders to tell us how they would implement the new program. We have 51 devices throughout the city that are going to be replaced over a 2-week period of time. We asked them how they would do that, what their training plans were, what their accounting system was like, and how we would pay the bills. The number 2 bidder that scored low in that account provided a response that was about half a page long. As far as the scheduling of the installation or the implementation, they told us that they would provide a schedule if they were awarded the contract. They provided no information how they would interface with our IT department to make their equipment network with our system. They had no training. They didn't address training at all in their response. So we deem that to not be worth 35 points. And we were quite generous, I think, in giving them 29 out of the 35 points. And this was the evaluation team that was made up of city staff. I didn't score. Purchasing didn't score. These are people from departments that are heavy users of the equipment. And it was their consensus that Rhyme had earned the new contract. And the new contract doesn't cost us any more than the old contract.
Well, I think Alderman Dwayne had the floor, but is that anything else?
Yeah, I just want to.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say this, we talked about this at finance, and I understand where Joe's coming from, but it really means a lot when they get the right person in there, the components and everything. And so I'm still going to support, I'm not going to support Alderman Morris. I'm going to stick with what we voted on. He made it very clear to us, I thought, and so I'm still going to support him. Thank you.
Alderman Moore, did you want to comment on that again?
Yeah, I guess the only comment I would make is that when you've got an incumbent of more than 20 years, they should know the scope of what the city is looking for. And when you have a first-time bidder, they may not know the scope of what the city is looking for. The fact that they were only docked 6 points out of 35 on a half of a page, I think it says that half a page must have been pretty decent for what they had submitted. So even if you have 1 year with growing pains, you're still saving $16,000 over the next 4 years of the contract. We have to challenge the status quo at some point. We can't just keep going the way we've been going, using the same people we've always used. When we can start to save some money, I think we need to take a really strong look at it. And our staff is capable of coaching these vendors into what it is that we need. But look, $20,000 over 5 years. Numbers speak a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. I need to get Alderman Moore's motion right on the floor. So you and the committee awarded this to Rhyme. Who is the lowest bidder? Do you know their name?
Number 2, Ross. Which was
Ross, okay. So really you're offering to give your motion is to award this to Ross.
Yes, just substitute Ross for Ryan.
I got it. Okay. So let's go to Alderman Zima.
Thank you, Your Honor. I tell you, the request for proposal system, I think has limited necessity. I tell you, it's I've always considered, and I remember it over in the county, you know, whoever's sitting on the committee that does the weighting, just a little point away here, a point there, can really rig the proposal one way or the other. I've always felt that we need to do a better job of setting the specs of what we expect, and then put it out for who's gonna do it and the second is that, you know, you investigate and determine if they have the capacity to do what you've asked them to do. You usually call that a bidder's proof of responsibility. And then award it to the lowest bidder. If you don't have confidence that these people can do it, then our staff can come forward and we say, the low bidder, we don't think they meet our specs, and we're asking you to award it to a higher bidder because we don't think they can do the work we're asking. I have to be in total agreement with Mr. Moore. We have a chance to, they've been doing it, how many years did you say, Mr. Moore?
I believe it was 24.
24 years. Has there been a lot of complaints about it? Is that the reason we went out, or we're not getting the service we're looking for? No one's ever made a complaint to me, so I don't know.
Yeah, I guess it's a five, do you want Rick, do you want to comment on that? I was wondering why we went out for an RFP.
Well, our contracts last for approximately 5 years. I think this one we stretched an extra year to 6 years. We're obligated to openly and competitively offer our business to vendors that are interested. So we go through a cycle every 5 years, 3 years, 4 years on a contract, and we give people a chance to take a bite at the apple. Rhyme has been a worthy vendor. We haven't had any complaints. I don't have any reservations about continuing the contract with them. But the bigger deal is that this is a proposal process, and for an evaluation team to review, we interviewed the top 3 vendors and still came away with the belief that Rhyme was the best value for the city. I'm just going to get more into the cornflakes here. One thing that Rhyme offered that Ross did not is we have 51 devices. And Rhyme is replacing, I don't have the exact number, but I remember the percent. 54% of those devices will be new. Now, our RFP was for refurbished. We asked the vendors for refurbished and for new equipment. 54% of the equipment offered by Rhyme is new. Ross did not offer anything other than refurbished equipment. They actually offered 2 alternatives. But the bottom line is that the committee felt that for 54% of our equipment to be new was a better value, that the awarded vendor had a better vision for implementation. Yes, they've done it for several years, Joe, but they still responded to our RFP and addressed all of the bullet points that we asked, and the other vendor did not. And I quite honestly, in good faith, could not approve or recommend overriding a proposal because it defeats the proposal process. I would rather not make an award and rebid this.
Thanks, Rick. Alderman?
I guess we didn't get a direct answer from that, though. Has there been any complaints about the service we've received from Ross?
He said no, but.
The machines break down and Ross fixes them. Now, the machines are typically on a refurbished program, 3 years old when we get them. They've been reconditioned, all of the wear parts have been replaced, but at the end of the 5-year contract, now they're 8 years old. So yes, they're more prone to breaking down. Our service calls have increased, but departments understand that, and there has been no demand. I had nobody recommend to me that we not go with Rhyme. And we had people on the committee from police, from Public Works, from the print shop, and I was trying to think of, DPW, Public Works. One other department, I'll think of it in a second here. But none of those people, and they represented their entire department, none of those people had a problem with Rhyme.
Thank you.
Well, I guess
Go ahead.
I didn't hear that there was complaints that they weren't doing their job or that we've had trouble doing our work in City Hall. Or is there? I guess.
No, there have been no issues where machines have been down for more than 4 hours. I mean, which is the standard time for a vendor to respond to a call for a repair or for maintenance. And the issue is that at this age in the life cycle, the machines fail more often than they did when they were newer. And that's another favor and point of Ryman, the fact that they're going to provide us with 54% new equipment, which should absolve that problem for the next 5 years on the majority of our equipment.
Okay.
Well, Your Honor, I don't know. I think the system was flawed, really. And, we used to have a specification subcommittee that was made up of staff, aldermen, and people from the private sector to try to build specifications that would be fair. Because the fairness is really the foundation of a good bidding system. And I tell you, when you can weight things, just a point this way or that way makes a total difference, and you want to avoid any chance for anything subjective, any other considerations to take place. And the only way you do that is you make the money the final, you set your specification, and the low bidder gets it. There's no way to rig it. I'm not saying this was rigged. I have confidence in our staff and everything else, but there's always that doubt. And then people start saying, well, doesn't matter if we try to do it because it's going to go the same. I mean, you got to stick with the money. I support Mr. Moore's motion, and if his motion doesn't pass, I think we should send it back and rebid it.
Thank you. Alderman Nicholson?
Thank you, Mayor. Question for Rick. Rick, in the bid, was it just to refurbish? And is it Rhyme? Just out of their kindness of their heart to basically bring 54% of new equipment, or?
No, I think that they,
How did that work?
well, I asked that question, why can you do new? And it's just the economics of the way that they approached our business. I don't know the business of machines, but color machines have improved vastly. They've gotten less expensive, and new equipment means fewer service calls, and that's the costliest part to the vendor. So that's another reason that all of these vendors had an opportunity to make a proposal, and Alderman Zima, that's why we do proposals, so we can consider more than cost. This is more based on service and keeping the city staff busy at work and not having downtime. And so we took that into consideration.
Another question, Rick. So if we do award the bid to Rhyme, I mean, it looks like we'd be saving money if we awarded it to Ross. Is that true, or?
Yes, that's true.
Okay, so if we would go to Ross, would we be spending more money?
No.
When we're not? Right, but I mean, but wouldn't we be saving some service calls if we had new equipment?
Yes.
In the long run, would we be saving money?
Well, no, we're paying the same cost, okay? We pay on a click charge. So every copy we make, we pay less than a penny on black and white and about maybe 6 cents on color copies. So it's not on the number of service calls that we have. It's our costs are flat. The vendor, however, it costs him money to make those service calls. So it's in their best interest to keep us up and running as much as possible.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Yeah, go ahead. Let me, the lights on this one. Alderman Randy Scannell.
Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate what Alder Moore is trying to do. I think our next budget is going to be tough, and I think saving money anyway anyhow is really smart. But I don't support the motion. I believe the process is more important. I don't want to get caught up in finances over process. I think a process is the way to do things is weighs more with me, is far more important. And I think, as mentioned, with the breakdowns, you have more downtime, and that is a cost that's not really put into this. If people are working, that production is a savings. If there's downtime, that's a cost to the city. That's really not, that's hidden here. So I'm not sure if we really recoup all that savings that we would be picking up. I really appreciate what you're trying to do, but I just don't support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Dave Nenny?
Thank you, Your Honor. I did have some experience years ago with copiers in city departments, and let me tell you, if there's anything that's important because of the amount of copying that's done in all of our departments, if there's anything that's important, it's having reliable copiers and reliable service. Now, the equipment's changed a lot over the years, and frankly, it is a big advantage to be getting over half of the machines to be new equipment, because that's going to be substantially less downtime than refurbished equipment. When equipment is broken down, typically that means that staff have to go, and it's usually our clerical staff, have to go to other departments to do their copying. Sometimes members of the public are waiting for copies when there's that downtime. When you looked at the numbers between Ross and Rhyme, the number is actually $3,474.67 per year. That was the estimate. Roughly $3,500 a year, knowing that 54% of the machines will be new, knowing that we do have. I can tell you that years ago, I remember a time when we awarded contracts like this strictly by price. And I can tell you that was not always the best alternative. There are other factors to consider here. I'm not familiar with either one of these two vendors, so I really can't shed any personal light on that. But, we had a staff group that evaluated it, and I trust that they tried to evaluate it as fairly as they could. I think that Mr. Jensen has shown us that he tries to save the city a dollar wherever he can, but getting quality products for the city when we do that. So I'm going to support his recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Joe Moore?
Thank you, Your Honor, for allowing me to speak again. Look, I'm not going to get wild about where this contract goes, okay? It's less than $20,000 over 5 years, but it is a savings, and there is something that's flawed with the process. If we asked for refurbished equipment, because that's what we've always used, and we put an RFP out for refurbished equipment, we got bids from everybody for refurbished equipment, except for the person who has the current contract, it's completely flat. It gives them an advantage. And Mr. Jensen himself had said that the cost is in the maintenance. So if we were to put this back out and say we want 26 of our 51 machines, 54%, we want 26 of our 51 machines to be new, if the cost is in the maintenance, we're going to see all kinds of lower bids. So, I would agree with Alderman Zima here that if this doesn't pass to just go with the low bid at this point, that we should send this back and say, quote us with all refurbed or quote us half and half with refurbed and new, and give us more options to choose from.
Alderman Moore, we did ask all vendors for costs on new and refurbished. Rhyme was the only one that came up with the concept of giving us a blended program, and they tried to use that to their advantage. So it's not a flawed system. We didn't propose that, they did, and that's the advantage of doing a proposal. We asked the vendors for the best solution, and Rhyme provided the best solution. And it's not just copies that we're talking about. These are multifunction devices. We use them for scanning, and we scan and send emails. So when a machine goes down, it doesn't just affect the clerks in the office. It affects the executives as well.
All right. Thank you.
And, excuse me, but to further your point, Joe, to reopen this and now allow all other bidders to take advantage of Rhyme's offer, that's unfair to Rhyme. They shouldn't be punished because they came up with a concept that nobody else did.
That we didn't ask for.
That's right. Okay.
And that's fine within the scope of a proposal.
Alderman Sima?
Thank you, Your Honor. I tell you, Mr. Moore pushes on the right button. It needs to be spec'd properly, and you gotta judge everybody. When you go out and ask for a proposal, you tell them what you want. You don't just leave it wide open. You have to tighten up your specs. And I think that the very least it should go back, and they should look at it again. I went through a bid rigging scandal back in the 80s, and we looked at that time at, well, when you want all of your staff to always be beyond review, and you use their talents to spec things properly, and then you bid it out, and you get your dollar back. That's where that team that was evaluating, they should have put a spec together and put it out, and we should have had it bid properly. That's how you keep people interested in participating in the city, not some subjective thing that people decide, well, am I gonna have a fair shake? Do I know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that can help with this? You wanna be beyond reproach about all of it. So I'm gonna make a motion to send it back and rebid it with a tighter specification, because I think the city should get what it wants to get. But I still did not hear that there were complaints about not being able to be efficient in their departments. You know, rebuilt equipment is not a frivolous business. People don't go and buy a new truck every time the engine blows. They fix it. They replace the engine, which is just like getting something new. I myself bought a rebuilt computer for my son at 7 years old now. But I bought a good one that was refurbished. And I don't know, I'm interested in making sure that it's always beyond suspicion at all. And the low bidder stops that. And I know Mr. Nenick says, well, we bid the low bidder sometime and we haven't been happy. Well, have we been unhappy about this company that was the low bidder? And, oh, gee, low bid's only 35% of our concerns? If there was some big outcry that we aren't getting service, like with our elevators or something like that, well, then you look at replacing it or whatever, but I'm gonna make a motion to refer it back to rebid it.
All right, so there's a motion by Alderman Zima, second by Alderman Joe Moore to refer this item back for rebid. Alderman Slotnick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will not support the motion. I'm hearing a lot of angst on the part of alders about our purchasing process. And I think some of that's legitimate. I was surprised to hear that price was only a 35% weighting. Maybe that's not right. So I would invite those alders to initiate a process to relook at our purchasing processes. But I don't support going back on this item, for which we put out an RFP to 8 vendors. They responded. We followed the process that we put out there. And to go back on that at this point sends a signal to businesses that we're risky to do business with, because we won't follow through on the process when we initiated it. So if you want to change the process, let's have that discussion, but let's not hold up or undo this bid award over that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, any other lights? I'm just gonna ask for Alderman Vanderleest. Then referral.
My thoughts on this, if we're getting 54% new equipment, it's gonna cost us about $3,500 a year, and the other companies are giving us all refurbished equipment, I know that a lot of the things we talk about as far as how we go about our bidding process and all that, but I think for this here proposal, if it's only a $3,500 a year, and we're getting 54% all new product, I would recommend that we go with the new product, 54%. Otherwise, we're gonna get 54%. We're gonna get basically 100% of refurbished. Not saying anything wrong with refurbished, but if I was gonna buy a new car, I look for a new one. I was, you know, a better shot, you know. And that's for that amount of money, I feel that it's probably okay on this one. But I think that, you know, the bidding process should be looked at more scrutin. In other words, what we're requesting, that's what we're looking for. And for this one, I would say that if we're gonna get the 54%, it's probably a good deal.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So with that, and this is on the referral. So there's a motion, a second to refer this item back. All in favor of referral, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed? No. Okay, now the nays have it. All right, so we're back to the original motion on the floor. I want to remind you that the motion on the floor by, yeah, I just want to leave you a second that. Who seconded that? Anyway, the motion on the floor by Alderman Moore, and that was seconded, was to replace Rhyme with Ross. So the motion on the floor is to award the 5-year contract to Ross. Did you want to? All right, could you turn your light off? Alderman Slavic, you want to comment on this? Alderman Zima.
Thank you, Your Honor. It's funny how the debate kind of moves around, and sometimes I think it's a little naive. But, you know, we are told, specifically by our staff, that there's no charges for calls or anything else. These companies make their money by production. Somebody's been producing for us for 24 years. I haven't heard a single complaint by any staff since I've been sitting here. So I don't know. It's by production. So whether they have new equipment or refurbished equipment doesn't matter. They make money only by production. And of course, are we doubting that they're not going to try to get maximum production? They only get paid by the copies that are made. So I probably should have said this before the last vote, but I'm just going to vote against this, and then it'll force us to rebid it. But I think we're delusioned about this, and I argue that you always want to be above reproach. You have to have a system that keeps you above reproach. And any subjective weighting does not always creates a doubt. So I say you put it in your specs and award that low bidder. And if they don't do good, you rebid it again. We've used this vendor for a long time. I don't know why we're going to a new one. It's a very big question mark to me, especially since they're the low bidder. I'm voting no against it.
We're saying with the same one.
No, we're not.
The motion by Alderman Moore is to change.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood that.
Clarify my motion is to switch back.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misspoke then. But I still think the system needs to be changed. I just don't like a system that's subjective in any shape, form, or matter, because you're always open to question. And you want everything to be above reproach. If you make a mistake sometime, you correct it the next time around. You've got to keep the system away from subjective evaluation, except in very specialized situations. And I don't think this is one of them, so.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you. So, the motion on, we didn't, the referral one didn't pass, so on the floor right now, we're gonna vote to change vendors from Ross from Rhyme. So that's the motion on the floor by Alderman Moore. So all in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nay? Nay. All right, then we had a motion and a second to adopt item 2. Any discussion here? All right, all in favor of adopting item 2, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it. Item 2's been adopted. Now, what are your wishes regarding item 3? There's a motion by Alderman Scannell, second by Alderman Joe Moore. Alderman Bill Galvin?
I need to recuse myself from this.
Okay. Yes, it's what?
Your Honor, can I Yes, I know Captain Kelvin was a police officer, but he's not gaining anything by this. You're protecting your own.
I work for the company that is going to be awarded or.
That's okay. Thank you for doing that then. Yeah, that's my question. Thank you.
Okay, so there's a motion, a second to approve item 3. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it. Item 3 has been approved. What are your wishes regarding item 5? Motion by Alderman Scannell, seconded by Alderman Joe Moore. Alderperson Dorf.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I was at the Finance Committee meeting. I didn't actually get a chance to ask any questions about this. I felt the bill was extremely high, over $30,000, but Alder Zima did an excellent job of asking some questions, and I'd like him to be able to ask those questions again, and I understood we were going to get some answers to those questions before we would be voting on this. So I would like to let Alder Zima speak to this bill. Thank you.
Alderman Zima?
Thank you, Your Honor. Actually, I asked for separation too, but probably for a little bit different reason, although at the committee, I felt that, and I guess some of our staff felt the same way, that the detail wasn't sufficient. And I think the committee agreed to pay whatever bill we decide is fair and correct with the contingency fund. There probably should have been 2 different motions, because I have no objection to having whatever we pay out of the contingency fund. But, and so I felt how the motion came out was maybe a little bit clumsy, and I thought we needed to clean it up a little bit. So I guess I'd like for separation of the contingency, coming from the contingency fund, and then hold up till we get more information on the second part. So I'd ask for separation on that, Your Honor.
Right, and I will give you that. So I'm going to do this right now. So item 5 is going to be split. So Alderman Zima is asking, and Alderman Dwayne has seconded to, the one item is going to be to approve payment with monies from contingency. Right? There's no dollar amount because that's the second part. So anybody want to discuss that? All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. All right, the ayes have it. The money's coming out of contingency.
The second
Alderman
part,
Zima,
I'd like to
hang on.
refer back for further information.
Senator, if I may, well,
All right.
we got information, a little bit.
I want to get this on the floor, but Alderman Moore, you seconded that. I'll go to, should hit your light. No, I was going to go to Alderman Stoyer.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, Alder Zima brought this up at Finance, and I have contacted Attorney Levinson and with your concerns with some of the vagueness with some of the specs as far as emails or just some of the details that you thought should be handled a little bit better. I sent him a email about a week ago, so I'm just waiting to hear from him, and when I get that information, I will share that at Finance. It's about all I can give right now.
Well, all right. So there's a motion, by Alderman Zima, second by Alderman Moore, to send this back to Finance. Right, second portion. Right, all in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it. All right, clerk?
Report of the Personnel Committee.
Move to approve.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Tom Dwayne, second by Alderman Ronnie Scannell, to approve the report of the Personnel Committee. That was for their meeting held on Tuesday, March 28th. Are there any items in this report you wish to handle separately? Hearing none, all in favor of that report?
Your Honor, if I may, I
Yep.
was going to just say, I'd like to introduce our humane officer. She's here.
Let's approve the report first. and
Okay,
then
let's
we'll-
approve it.
Yeah,
All right,
let's
there's
do
a,
that. Yeah, what?
there's a motion second to approve the report of the Personnel Committee. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. That report's been approved.
And I just request that so everybody gets that picture, that smile. Right there around.
What's your, okay. Hi. Welcome. Chief, do you want him? Oh, he's not here, okay.
No.
All right, thank you. Clerk, let's continue then.
Report of the Protection and Welfare
Hang on.
Committee.
Just wait, whoa, hang on. Alderman Zima?
I just wanted to say that our Protection Committee has already seen our humane officer in action, and we've been very pleased with how professionally she handles herself, and we think she's going to do a great job there.
Right, thank you. And again, welcome, and yeah, that's more than just animal control. You got a lot on your plate. Thank you for stepping up on this. Okay.
Report of the Protection and Welfare Committee.
The motion by Alderman Randy Scannell, seconded by Alderman Joe Moore, to approve the report of the Protection and Welfare Committee. That was for their meeting held on Monday, March 27th. Any items in this report you wish to handle separately? Hearing none, all in favor of that report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? All right, with that notation of Alderman Nicholson's abstention, that report has been approved. All right?
Report of the Protection and Welfare Committee granting operator licenses.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Scannell. God bless you. Seconded by Alderman Weary, to approve the report granting the operating licenses. Are there any names in here you wish to handle separately? Seeing no lights, all in favor of that report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it, and that report's been approved.
Receive and place on file report of the municipal court for February 2017.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Joe Moore, seconded by Alderman Randy Scannell, to receive and place on file the report of the municipal court. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. That report's been received and placed on file.
We're on to resolutions. You may adopt Resolution 11 with a roll call vote.
Adopt. Alderman Scannell, second by Alderman Stoyer. If you use the board on this.
Tom, hit it again.
All right, and that passes unanimously. Thank you.
Ordinances first reading. You may under suspension of the rules advance ordinances 12 through 16 to a third reading.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Scannell, second by Alderman Joe Moore, to suspend the rules for that purpose. All in favor of the suspension? Yep. Okay. All in favor of suspension, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it. On a voice vote, I will ask then to advance items 12, 13, 15, and 16. Motion to advance by Alderman Moore, second by Scannell. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. Those 4 items have been advanced. What are your wishes regarding item 14? Motion to advance by Alderman Moore, and that's seconded by Alderman Scannell. Alderman Slotnick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This change in ordinance arose from a communication from Alderman Nicholson, and I fully support the objective that Alderman Nicholson has to try and curtail certain type of parking. But the way the ordinance ended up being proposed, it's somewhat broader and creates some more restriction than is necessary. So I've talked about this with Alderman Nicholson. I've talked about it with Chris Pirlot. Both of them agree with me that this could probably be reworked in a way that wouldn't be as restrictive as it is, but still meet the objective that Alderman Nicholson had. So I'd like to move to refer this back to INS.
All right, so there's a motion by Alderman Tom Slotnick, second by Alderman Tom DeWayne, to refer first reading ordinance number 14 back to the INS committee. Alderman Nenning, did you want to?
Yeah, Your Honor, I also have some concerns about this. And when it was at the Improvement Services Committee last year, I voted no on this. And I would like to discuss that. Actually, numbers 14 and 15 kind of go together here. They both relate to the same proposal. But I was advised that under our procedure, we really can't make motions to modify or do anything until it gets to the third reading. And I'd ask our city attorney to clarify that.
Yes, sir. So, correct. Once it's been entered into into an ordinance, we need to send it to the third reading just because that's what our ordinance states. The exception which we discussed last time is that if the entire group wants to do something with it tonight, then we have to take a unanimous vote to do something with it tonight since it is a first reading.
Did you want to? Yeah, no, I'm going to ask for a vote. I want to talk about 6:15. Do you want to reconsider that vote?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well-
if they're tied together in your mind,
Well, if we're going to try to do something with a unanimous vote tonight, I think we have to do both 14 and 15 because they both relate to the same thing.
Okay.
They're both ordinances that make the same change. I guess.
I'd
my
like
f-
you to.
My feeling coming here tonight was we should let it go to the third reading and deal with it next week at the third reading.
Well, I'm pretty sure the votes are there to refer this back to INS, so I think what I'd like to see you do is reconsider your vote
Okay.
on 15. We'll take that up, and then you can make a motion to refer that, and we'll send them both back, and we can deal with them at committee.
Okay.
So there's a motion by Alderman Nenning, seconded by Alderman Riney Scandal, to reconsider the vote tonight of item 15. All in favor of reconsideration, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay, so the ayes have it. So that's back on the table. Do you want to just amend yours to refer back 14 and 15?
Yes.
And then Alderman Dwayne, can you
Yes.
second that? All right, so now the motion on the floor is to refer items, both 14 and 15, back to INS. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay, so that's been referred back, okay?
Ordinance third reading, you may adopt ordinance 17 with a roll call vote.
Okay. Yeah, just for the record, item 17, which is a roll call vote, third reading, which means if it passes, it becomes the city rule. That's the ordinance relating to council meetings. That was the ordinance that was the ordinance that was passed to move the starting time from 7 PM to 6 PM. So this is the third and final vote on that. Anybody want to speak to that? We're going to vote using the board, right? Make your light. I said, does anybody want to speak to that? You're absolutely, hit your light. All right. Alderman Weary?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I just make a motion to receive and place on file? Would that be appropriate?
You just voted up or down tonight.
Okay, well, I'm gonna make a motion. I was one of the original ones to support this. I no longer do. So I do urge the council to keep it at 7. It used to be 7:30 years ago. We moved it up to 7, and I think that's appropriate. So vote no.
Okay, it's the only light I got. A yes vote goes to 6 PM, a no vote keeps it at 7.
We're voting on it tonight. We're just passing.
We're voting,
or not.
right? This is,
To approve or not approve. Up or down. Mhm.
yes vote moves the starting time to 6, no vote keeps it at 7. Okay, we will meet at 7. Okay, all right. Let's continue.
Committee of the Whole. First one is update regarding status of Hotel Northland project.
Sure. Are you okay with that? You want to do away with this now? All right, we're going to take a 5-minute recess, so we'll convene at 8:50. No. Yeah, I'll turn it off. You want to hit? Yeah, a lot of purchasing.